Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce Ng. Joyce, we're back for our mailbag episode.
This is like our first official separate mailbag
Wow.
episode. So congratulations to all of you who made it into this episode.
We have so many emails at slugfest@goldderby.com that we needed to spin this off into its own episode. And we didn't change our clothes from yesterday's episode. So congratulations. We're just here again. I haven't moved. It's been 24 hours, Joyce. I'm still sitting here.
Yeah, we just slept standing up. So,
I had to read all these emails.
well, you have a hard time reading. So,
It's true. I've actually learned to maybe try to read these ahead so I'm not like stumbling through them. That's another tweak we'll make to the show, maybe.
is that a choice because you're just lazy and you don't want to read them, or do you also want to be surprised in the moment like I am?
I like to be a little surprised, though obviously I have a bigger heads up because the emails are coming to the inbox that I created that I don't know if you have and you're able to see. But we're going to start with Nancy, an old friend who emailed us a lot last year, Joyce, during Oscar season, and this year, I guess, earlier, and she's back here. Hi, Joyce and Chris. What do you think about the Oscar chances for Small Things Like These? Based on the trailer, I could see it getting nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Actor for Cillian Murphy, and Best Supporting Actor for Emily Watson. However, I'm slightly hesitant since Lionsgate hasn't been a big player during awards season in recent years. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see when the film is released in November. Thanks. It's from Nancy.
Yeah, I agree with all of that.
uh, no, I don't know. I was not taking it super seriously as a contender. Though I think as the days go on, the possibility of, I would say the possibility of Cillian Murphy getting nominated as an Afterglow nomination does keep moving up because
Would
there's
love to see it. He deserves it.
not a lot of actors there that I think are really, it's a not as deep as Best Actress, let's say.
Um, yeah, I think yeah, a lot of it depends on the performances of others. Like,
Yes.
and yeah, I agree. Like, yeah, Lionsgate hasn't really been a major player in the game as of late. We kind of talked about this last week. Like, Emily Watson won Berlin, so maybe like, supporting actress is kind of open. Um, yeah, it's a true story, I think. And I think if you not I think it's a true story, it's a true story, but I think if it gets seen, like, it has great reviews, like we haven't seen it, but I think it's incredibly moving and I think it would resonate with people. I think it's just kind of like getting eyeballs like for it um in front of industry people especially. It's not, I don't think it's like good enough just to have the critics behind it. Like it needs critics behind it, but I think it needs more than that.
It needs the Francis Fisher push.
Yeah, and Francis Fisher is backing The Substance and Demi Moore currently. So
Hey, like I think that's a legit. I actually I think we have an email coming up about that, but I'm actually like more and more bullish about that potentially happening too. Uh, let's see what's next. This one is from Michelle, who writes, "Hi Joyce and Chris. I wanted to ask about best international feature. I know Amelia Perez is probably winning this, but I'm from Saudi Arabia, and everyone here is rooting for the movie that Egypt is submitting called Flight 404. It's literally a masterpiece. It's my second favorite film of the year after Challengers, and the movie has the best lead performance so far. Have you heard anything about it anywhere? I'm not sure it's got any screenings outside of the Middle East. I think it won some award at Aswan International Women Film Festival. I think it's going to be in the Red Sea Film Festival too, and I really wish it makes it at the Oscars because there is no movie against it but Amelia. And where is Mikey Madison and why is she not around to campaign? Is she shooting something or what? A twist there at the end, Joyce.
wow, I was not expecting that at all.
This is
I
why we
have
don't.
not seen this set. I would love to see it.
I have not seen it either. It
Yeah.
is an Egypt submission, Flight
Mhm.
404.
Yeah.
Uh, sounds great.
Hmm.
Uh, Gada attempts to obtain money for her mother's sudden emergency surgery while preparing to depart Egypt to perform the Hajj and is forced to reconnect with people from her past and make difficult ethical decisions. I love difficult ethical decisions.
You could apply that to a lot of log lines.
So this sounds great.
Yeah.
Straight up. And
Yeah,
Mikey
but
Madison, I think, is campaigning, Joyce. I mean, I've seen her. She was at a screening of Anora, I feel like, the other night. for sex workers, I
Yeah,
think.
she's been doing like Q&As after I think it's a very smart move. They're screening this for sex workers and that whole industry. So she's been doing that, but I think what they mean is probably just like magazine covers, like print stuff and like TV interviews, like late night talk shows and stuff like that. But I think they're ramping up for it as it nears release. Like they're on their promo tour now. But I
Yeah,
think, yeah, they didn't do much right after Cannes.
right.
So I think that's the difference. Like last year we got a lot of Lily Gladstone after Cannes, but that might have also been because of the looming strike. So they banked stuff.
Do you think it's like, what do you think here? Do you think like that she should be like, you could argue that none of the, I mean, Carla, I think is the only one who's maybe done like a little more for Best Actress, but none of the actresses have really, not that they need to, but I'm like, Angelina Jolie, I guess, did a couple of things so far, and I feel like she's got to have like a big magazine cover coming for the winter. But otherwise, like, I don't know, nobody's really doing anything yet.
No, I guess it's a little different because it's like we we already know Anora exists, and it won Palme d'Or in May. So I think it would be different if Anora had premiered at like Telluride, right? So then they're all kind of like on an even playing field in a way,
Hmm.
like in terms of their movies being seen, like Baby Girl and like Nicole Kidman and everything.
Right.
So it kind of seems like they're starting off on the same foot. So I guess it feels like Mikey has like lost time, so to speak, by not like I guess you could say like maybe she should have been on like some cover for like the month of September, like for like
Right.
Vanity Fair or something,
Right. Yeah,
like that.
Selena's on the cover.
Yeah, she's prepared. She
She
was
got it.
everywhere this
She
month.
nailed it.
Yeah.
This one's from Zach. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Happy 2024 Oscar season. I wrote in last winter during Barbie's Critical Awards dominance and was so excited to get branded a quote Chris Burner account. A high honor, truly. This time I have two questions for y'all. First, I was struck last week as you went through your best director picks that basically every potential nominee would be a first time nominee besides maybe Steve McQueen. You talked last week about the distinct lack of A-listers in the field this year, but it seems likely the nominees could wind up being Sean Baker, Jacques Audiard, Brady Corbet, Edward Berger, and Ramel Ross, with Steve McQueen and Denis Villeneuve on the outs. While there's been a trend since Bong Joon-ho being first-time winners, when is the last time the Best Director field was entirely first-time nominees? And to give a bonus director question, does the lack of big name director contenders help Denis this year and cancel out the blockbuster curse that ailed Denis and Barbie from getting in? My other question is also about Dune. This year, the conventional wisdom seems to be that Dune Part 2 will end up sweeping the technical awards once again. I'm not so sure about this since Dune Part 1 already won 6 technical awards, and the Oscars have been there, done that kind of thought process when it comes to awarding sequels. Do you think Dune Part 2 sweeps the tech awards this year or repeats in any of the categories the first one won? To refresh your memory, Dune won cinematography, editing, production design, score, sound, and visual effects. And if it doesn't sweep, do we have a technical juggernaut this year that we'll have like we've had the last few years? As always, I'm so excited to watch this Oscars race alongside you and steal all of Joyce's picks by the time
No,
Oscars
don't do
rolls
that.
around.
Don't do that.
That's from Zach.
I don't want anyone to copy me because I don't want you blaming me if it's wrong. I can live with my own mistakes.
You don't want the pressure.
Yeah. And then I don't want you also getting it right if it's right. Don't copy me.
uh,
Um, I don't know when the last time like an all first time directing lineup was, but this reminded me of how this was what people were hung up on a couple years ago with Best Actor because people were like, we can't have an all first time nominees and Best Actor. There must be a former nominee like Tom Cruise and Top Gun
hmm
Maverick,
hmm
and it's like people are not voting based on stats like these,
No.
you
I'm
know.
looking through. I'm like, well,
Um, but I don't know if I mean you put Denis back in, so
I
I
did.
don't think it's about like overcoming like the blockbuster curse necessarily.
Well, I do think that's a little. I guess I don't know if it's a blockbuster curse, but I do think the benefit of Denis, and like we kind of talked about this, is if there is like a brand name director, like this year is without ostensible brand name directors like we've seen in the years past. So there's no Scorsese, Eastwood, really, the maybe Fincher, like Ang Lee, all these guys who are like major guys are not with movies this year. So Denis maybe is like, so you're left with like Denis, Steve McQueen, like Ridley Scott, right? So of those, like I feel like Denis maybe is out in front. I think he's got the benefit of the movie having, well, we said it's a curse maybe that it was out in March and kind of maybe has been out of sight, out of mind. Fact is, most people did really like it. And so if you bring it back, like they're trying to do with him specifically, like you're reminding people that this is a movie they already liked. So then they go in to see like Blitz or Gladiator II. If they're not as good as like they remember Dune being, well, then those guys are maybe not going to surpass Denis. I don't know. I could see him getting in this year, but I actually think it'll get less nominations than it did last time, even if he gets in, right? Like, I think it's going to shed nominations in some spots.
And I don't think it would win six like the first one did. We
I
were
don't
talking
either.
about this with someone last week about this like very thing.
Correct.
Yes.
This is not her burner account either.
No, it's not. Urban.
Uh, so like cinematography, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think there are other movies that could be competitive here, like more so than Dune.
I mean, like adapted screenplay is weak this year, so it could get in, but that also could be one it loses,
That was the one I thought it would lose.
Yeah.
I think it could get in for cinematography, but I don't know if it would win. I think it could get in for editing, but actually that could be one it loses too.
And editing that year was also weird, remember?
Yes.
So
Production design and score and sound and visual effects, I think, are very much safe in play for this movie. I
yeah,
don't know if
like
it'll win all of those, but I think it will get nominated again for sure.
visual effects is probably the safest. So
Visual effects to me is the safest,
yeah.
and then I would say probably I think sound would be competitive with like Conclave, frankly. Like I don't know, and like you know what I mean. Like I think like and score, frankly, too could be like a tough. I think visual effects is pretty safe though. I do think production design though I could see like The Brutalist or Gladiator II like making a run there.
Especially like Brutalist is literally about building a building.
And like sound, like we said, I think it's very much in play, but I think like Conclave would be a strong competitor there. Gladiator 2 probably. Blitz, maybe Amelia Perez because it's a musical. I don't know. Um,
What about Wicked?
or Wicked. Great sound, beautiful sound. So I think it'll get these. I think it'll get like eight nominate. I think it could get like eight nominations. Dune 2, right? Like seven or eight. I wouldn't be surprised. I think Denny could get in. Like we said, it loses screenplay. Maybe it loses one or two others, and it still gets him in. I don't think it's like if it lost nominations, I still think he could get in based on the way the year is shaken out.
Yeah, and also like that year, like the movie was also aided by COVID, right? Like we no, like there were so many delays and everything was fucked. So that like the lack of competition also helped it win six. Not that it's not deserving of six Oscars, but it's just like it's like the same thing the Emmys and like the Crown sweeping 7 for 7,
Here-
right? Like that was a good season of the Crown, but if it were normal, like no COVID, would have won all 7 categories.
Here's the
Probably
other.
not.
Here's the other thing about 21 when he was snubbed versus this year, or maybe he gets in. The nominees that year you'll recall were Jane Campion for Power of the Dog, Paul Thomas Anderson for Licorice Pizza, Kenneth Branagh for Belfast, Ryusuke Hamaguchi for Drive My Car, and Steven Spielberg. Those are like all-time directors, huge brand name directors mostly, right? And then like or an incredible passion pick and Drive My Car. And so I'm like, there's not that kind of like I'm not surprised looking at that list that maybe he didn't get in. But this year there's not that group. So I feel like he could get in. You know what I mean? There's no Spielberg, there's no PTA, there's no Jane Campion. I don't know. Like maybe he would get in this year.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I had him in March, so I just took him
I
out.
I,
So
I have him in again. So we'll see. But yeah, I don't think it'll win everything else. This one's from David R. Joyce.
Grammar David.
You'll recall he's Grammar David. My Queen Joyce and Chris.
Why?
I just saw The Substance. Have either of you seen it? I didn't find it to be as horrifying and gross as advertised. For example, I thought the ending of Alex Garland's Men 2022 was way more grotesque. I did appreciate all the nods to genre films, The Shining, Carrie, The Fly, Death Becomes Her, etc. I found myself LOLing throughout. Demi actually gives a brilliant comic performance in a cooking scene that had me howling with laughter. I've never gone to the movies to see horror film before, but the hype on this got me. Here's my ridiculous prediction. The Substance gets Oscar noms for makeup and costumes, and Demi is nominated for Best Actress after she wins the Globe for Best Actress in a Comedy. Thoughts, David R.
I have not seen it yet, and I don't even know when I would be able to see it right
Well, I
now.
got to tell you, I wanted to try to see it because I was like, this is one I should see. Even though, like we said, I hate body horror. And I'm like terrified of this movie, and I was looking around for like screenshots or anything of the ending. Let's just say I found parts of it, ripped, from on. I found parts of it where I've gotten to see the level of gore we're talking about. And it reminded me a little of, remember in RoboCop, Joyce, when the guy gets like the toxic waste bath.
Also, I know what happens, so
I'm not spoiling. I'm just saying. Remember in
yeah,
RoboCop?
I know, but I'm just saying I know what you're like. I have a reference point because I know
Yes.
what happens in the
So,
movie.
okay. So I was like, that's what it looked like to me. And I was like, I could handle this if it's like Paul Verhoeven, like kind of gross, like RoboCop shit rather than like sadistic Saw shit, I guess. I still haven't seen it because the times are awful. Like I will harp on this for a while, forever, as someone who lives in the suburbs. And I was like, it's either 6 o'clock or 10 o'clock. Well, the movie's almost 2.5 hours, which I cannot understand why this movie is so long. Uh, but I was like, it just doesn't work. I can't find the right time. So hopefully I'll see it soon. That said, I'm very excited about the potential for Demi and for the makeup. I don't know. I could see that really happening. I don't know about costumes. I It's psychotic to think, but I just like we talked about, if enough like the people who hate the movie will hate it, but hopefully if there's enough people who love it and love her, I think she can get in. Basically, that's it.
I think she can definitely get in at the Globes. Um,
Yes.
and then we'll see. I mean, I think she'll definitely campaign too, which is important, your favorite thing, but I think it's especially important for this type of genre movie.
Yes.
And um I don't know. I mean, I've seen people talk about like her narrative. I'm like, I don't even know if that is really a narrative for her. Like, I understand it's like this 80s and 90s icon who you probably never expected to be in play for an Oscar, gets this role of a lifetime, you
Problem
know?
is like a lot of people I don't think take her seriously as an actor.
Yes, I think that's like it's like the J-Lo curse in a way.
Or like Tom Cruise for Top Gun Maverick.
But like Tom also willingly does these types of movies, like he's like consistently employed, and these are the types of movies he wants to make, those action movies.
Yes.
So, but like she hasn't like done stuff in a while.
I do think she can get in though. I really do. I think she would be like, I think the comp maybe is like Anna de Armas in Blonde, where it's like a movie that some people really hate and is just like, what the fuck? And then it gets in anyway because there's enough people. Now it's a different comp because she's playing a real life person or whatever. But I'm like,
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a biopic of Marilyn
but
Monroe.
like still, people hated that movie, like straight up hated it. Certainly as much as I think people would hate The Substance, the people who are prone to hating it would hate it. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so
I think the thing with like Blonde is also like the people who hate it, a lot of it were critics, and we saw that the industry felt differently about it. And then with The Substance, I think right now, obviously, this might even be like the peak of its buzz. Like it's out and people are seeing it. So I think the people who are going to see it, paying their hard-earned money to see this movie, they want to see it, right? So they're predisposed to enjoying it. So
yes.
that's why it's generated this buzz. So I think it'll be harder once like the movie is out of theaters and they're just like on the campaign trail to get it in front of voters. I think a lot of voters would just not even bother with the screener, like just knowing what it's about. So I think like the buzz to me right now makes sense, and I understand the excitement for it. But it's like this is its target audience that is generating the buzz too.
The other thing I would say is like, okay, New York Film Critics, we talked about this in our last episode, Joyce. New York Film Critics Circle winner, Demi Moore for Best Actress. Golden Globes, we have her in, I think it's drama, but I could see them running this as a comedy. I don't know. I guess, I don't know if that's like
Well, they have 6 spots, so I think she can get in like either.
either way.
So.
So let's say she gets in for the Globes. That feels like good. She gets in at New York, wins New York Film Critics Circle. She maybe get. I mean, like it does nothing about it says like SAG to me, but I was like, maybe if she got in at SAG, definitely would take it seriously. I actually think she'd be in play for BAFTA because I think internationally it would be like kind of more appealing. Certainly, I don't know. I'm like I remain like I think she's like in the 6 to 10 range. I don't know if she would get in, but I don't think it's like far fetched that she would get in.
No, she's in like, yeah, I think there is like a list of like 10 people basically. I don't know. And
Yeah,
like I would put her there
yeah.
right now. But
This one's from Brett, who emailed us at slugfest@goldderby.com. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Love the podcast. Truly the best, all caps.
wow, this is your
Oscars.
burner.
This is not my burner. Truly the best Oscars prognostication out there. This is my first time emailing, and I hope you can both explore the similarities and potential differences in Anora and Parasite's award season trajectory and the narratives thus far. In an unclear race, could these similarities point to Anora winning Best Picture? One additional comparison to explore. Could The Brutalist be the Tar of this year? I sense a similar austere tone, indie scene director, strong central performance, and groundswelling film Twitter in quotes support. Look forward to hearing your insight as always. That's from Brett. Thanks for emailing, Brett.
Wow, Brett. Welcome to our first official mailbag episode with your first email. I saw Anora this week, your fave of the year.
This is the fucking best.
Hilarious. And Karen Karugian, like best supporting actor.
The problem, I want to put them all in. I have Mark Edelstein in, and I think he's like hilarious. Karen is great, and obviously is it Yuri or Yura? What is
Yura Borisov.
Oh my God, great. He's the heart and soul of the movie, Joyce, like we said. So, great movie. I've seen people compare it to Parasite. We've even talked about this a little.
Yeah, we talked about this in terms of like the stuff it's won and where it's placed.
Yes.
So.
Here's what I'll say. We talked about, I think in our last episode, we talked about SAG and ensemble, and you said Piano Lesson is locked in. I'm not so sure about that because it's in. I have actually
I'm not saying
Anora.
locked in to win. I'm saying I
No,
have it nominated.
I don't have it nominated right now because I have Anora instead. Because I do think it could be the Paris in that like it's like nobody like not actors that nobody really knows, even though Mikey Madison has been around. The other people are not actors that you have really paid attention to. But man, as an ensemble, I think they're all great together. And I think it could be is the enthusiasm so much for the film that it's even impossible to resist, like Parasite kind of was. And like you could imagine, I don't think they would win, but I do think like there's an enjoyment of that group that you come from watching the movie. So I don't know. It could be Parasite, but I'm like, would it really be Parasite? I don't know. Even as someone who loves, like, it's my favorite movie, I was like, I just don't know if that's like a great comp to me.
Well, you don't want it to win because it's your favorite movie. Like you don't want
Certainly
it to be
not.
front runner.
Right.
This is your favorite.
Right. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I don't even know if a lot of people are aware of how ensemble it is. I feel like you might think it's like really just like the Mikey show or maybe like the Mikey and Mark show because it's about them, like I mean their elopement is the inciting incident for the rest of the movie. But the rest of the movie is very ensemble.
It's basically like four of them in a car.
Yes, that's a whole second act.
And then like it keeps building on. I don't know. It's not. It feels like Parasite because I think there's an enthusiasm. Like, tell me if you sense this, like having seen it recently with like a large group. But there's like an enthusiasm. There's like watching the movie. You're like, wow, this is like really playing well. And then like at the end, people are like are like thrilled. You know what I mean? Like there's like a real like a organic enthusiasm for it that feels like unbeatable to me. Like, did you get that sense or no?
I mean, people definitely laughed and clapped during the funny moments and the funny lines in the movie. There was a very loud cheer at a certain point in the third act when Mikey says something like totally badass,
She's so good.
like loud cheer. The ending, it's a great ending. But I kind of feel like some people like we didn't get like loud applause at the end when like the credits started rolling. I kind of feel like maybe some people were like, oh, that's it. But I thought the ending was good.
I think the ending is really good too, but I think definitely like that's something where people would be like, "Oh, that's it." Like cuz it's more like the movie is like on a like an 11 and then the ending takes like a little different not I don't think the tone is different because it obviously is keeping with the movie, not spoiling the movie. But I'm like, it feels like it zigs when you think it's gonna zag.
Yeah, I think people have like different expectations, I think, of the ending.
So I don't know if it's Parasite. I mean, this year I feel like we always talk like there's so many comps and like kind of, but I'm like, if you like, Anora does feel Parasite because of what it's done so far and like what it could potentially do. Um, I think Amelia Perez could be like that too, but I don't think it's as like thought of as critically strong as Anora is, right? And Amelia Perez maybe feels more like Coda-y because it's not as much of a critical fave. Um, I don't know. And then for the Brutalist and Tar, I mean, I really loved the Brutalist, Joyce, and I didn't love Tar. I know you love Tar, and I don't think you love the Brutalist as much as Tar, but like, you
I
think
don't
that's a
know if
good
I mean,
comp?
I haven't thought about them. Like I really enjoyed The Brutalist. I think I mean, they're such different movies. I think I just like the like with Tar, I think I really enjoy like the cynicism and the acidity of it. And it's just like that it's like totally different from The Brutalist, but I think The Brutalist is great. I don't rank things, but it's definitely one of like the top movies I've seen this
I
year.
I guess in terms of
So,
like the other thing is like for a film Twitter standpoint, like uh this person who was it? I'm just reading here.
Brett.
Brett, sorry. Like Brett was saying, is like I guess a lot of these movies are film Twitter faves this year. Like I feel like Anora would be too, and you can make a comp between Anora and Tar, even though I don't think it's like tonally like anywhere close.
No, but I think with I I think with Char, it's like I think it's okay. I think The Brutalist is more accessible than Tar, even though I think
I
Tar is
agree.
not inaccessible.
I
But I think
agree.
it's just like what it's dealing with and the lead character too. I
I
think like Laszlo Toth is a lot more sympathetic than Lydia Tar.
I I also to yes and that also Kate Blanchett is like the main, like she is all of Tar. And while Brutalist is not an ensemble film, it is very much like a community film. I feel like you couldn't like he's the lead and the focus point, but like there's so much other things that are happening that like
It's
the movie.
also very funny. I don't know if people know how funny it
Well,
is.
Tar was funny too, though, and
Yeah,
good.
Tar is funny, but like Brutalist, like people were like LOLing like in the
It,
theater.
it just feels like there's more like the Tar is like the Kate show, and like this is while Adrienne is like fantastic and like should probably win another Oscar. There are a lot of other characters I think helping and like interacting with Laszlo compared to Tar, to me at least. I don't know.
Yeah. And I can see The Brutalist, despite its runtime, playing better with casuals and basics than
Yeah,
Tar. Like I think a lot of people don't get Tar. So
no. Joyce, this is from Jonathan. Uh, this is such a long email. This is why we had to have a separate episode. Emails like this, not to shame Jonathan. I'm just saying, like, we needed to do this because this is going to take me a minute to read, probably. Greetings, Joyce and Chris. My name is Jonathan, and I've been an on again, off again member of Gold Derby since 2011.
wow.
I actually was the one who came in first place for the Primetime Emmy Awards ranking odds in 2014, the year of the Breaking Bad finale, a final season sweep. Much deserved.
And the last year of the tape system.
Anyway, this is my first time emailing you guys. My question is regarding the upcoming Oscars. Apologies for the length of the message. That's how you know you're in trouble. Jonathan, we love you. Keep emailing. I truly believe this year we should be taking The Brutalist way more seriously. It feels like this year's Oppenheimer and old-time grandiose period piece epics that previously won Best Picture, such as Gone with the Wind, Ben-Hur, Lawrence of Arabia, Schindler's List, The English Patient, Titanic, and more recently in this era, Gladiator and The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, and Oppenheimer. The Brutalist also has A24 backing it up, which is a huge plus, and the abundance of critical acclaim and high praise and impact that many Best Picture winners contain. Plus, it's bound to win several tech awards just like the giant that is Oppenheimer, such as cinematography, especially with it known that it was shot on 35mm film stock and 70mm with VistaVision process and cameras. Best original score with its lush and gorgeously composed music by Daniel Blumberg, and best film editing, which Oppenheimer and many other epics also won. Currently, I believe it will win 7 overall Oscars, just like previous 2 Best Picture winners. I believe it'll also win a ton of regional critics' prizes for Best Picture, including Los Angeles and the National Society of Film Critics, while Anora will most likely win at New York, and The Brutus will then continue winning at Industry and Guild Awards. Adrian Brody is without a doubt the frontrunner to win Best Actor and become next year's Cillian Murphy, while Brody will additionally have the narrative of a semi-comeback with a rousing and brilliant performance in a critically acclaimed film after many, many, many not so well received and critically panned films between 2005's King Kong and now The Brutalist, such as Giallo, Inappropriate Comedy, and Blonde. Inappropriate Comedy has 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. In 2023 alone, he was in Manodrome, Ghosted, and Fool's Paradise, all brutalized by critics, particularly the latter, though at least he had a generally positive reviewed movie in Asteroid City. How did this happen? Screen Rant has even listed him in their 10 great actors that always end up in bad movies, according to Reddit list from 2022. We're still going on this. Basically, he's like, you know, Adrian Brody, not great, but now great. I'm pretty sure Brody will soon have a perfect Oscar record, 2 wins in the same category. After that infamous kiss, he proclaimed his Oscar acceptance speech from 2003. I got one shot at this. He is dead wrong. This is still going, Joyce. Furthermore, I understand that the critical darling Anora's beloved little engine that could passion type vote indie, but it doesn't feel like a film that will go all the way. It feels more like a licorice pizza and Triangle of Sadness, in which it'll receive major category nominations, but not any below the line tech noms. But I strongly agree that it will take Best Original Screenplay over The Brutalist, just how American Fiction won a screenplay over Oppenheimer. As for Emilia Perez, I firmly believe it will receive 10 plus nominations, 13 in my opinion. However, it has the Netflix factor. If Roma, The Power of the Dog, and All Quiet couldn't win, then how is it possible that Emilia Perez will finally pull it off? Yes, I know rules are eventually broken, but don't forget, it took the streaming service to finally win a major program award at the Emmys until season 4 of The Crown and the limited series The Queen's Gambit until 2021. However, I do believe supporting actress for Zoe Saldana and Best International Feature and Best Original Song for Mi Camino or Where It'll Triumph. Finally,
wow.
If you have time to discuss, what is this year's The Five Bloods, Babylon, and The Color Purple, in your opinion? The 3 most recently disrespected films of their award season. I have a feeling that it's going to be Saturday night. Thanks for reading my gargantuan email. Sorry again. And I look forward to your response and hopefully convincing you of a best picture course change.
Where to begin?
Whew.
I don't think I need to be convinced that The Brutalist could win.
I think,
You know,
me neither. It's definitely Oppenheimer coded. And I think the one thing you talked about this, I think yesterday in our other episode and today, is it feels like a much shorter movie than it is. And I think the editing is fantastic. And I actually think it could be win competitive in editing for sure. Because I think the big takeaway from the movie, like you said, a lot of people are like kind of coming at it who haven't seen it are like apprehensive about the movie because it's a 215-minute movie.
Mhm.
And like, oh, what the fuck is this like? What is this like? And then when you're like, actually, it's great and it like moves so well, then
Coming
that
from me who likes shorter movies, and like I just want to clarify that I don't hate long movies. I enjoy long movies and I don't mind the runtime if it's justified, and I feel like it is justified in this case.
and so I'm like, I think this will surprise people in that fashion. I think Adrian Brody definitely is coded as Cillian Murphy in terms of like just like I feel like he'll be under. Do you think he'll be like under respected as like Cillian Murphy was as like a potential winner, like under
Um,
predicted?
yeah, I think a lot of people would just kind of harp on like he's already won. People love to do that. Like he's already won.
So last year we obviously had Cillian Murphy who was disrespected, Paul Giamatti who was like the critics' fave, right? And then
It's
like
pundits' fave.
pundits' fave. And like the year before we had like
A
Brendan
mess.
Fraser who was like everybody like loved.
Well, Colin was the critics'
And
fave.
Colin was the critics' fave.
And
So
then
this
Oscar.
year I'm like, you've got basically Brody, Coleman Domingo, Timothy Chalamet, Ray Fiennes, and maybe Daniel Craig. That's like the consensus 5. And I'm like, Brody feels like he'll just fill a lot of the boxes, even though he's already won. I don't think there's anybody else who will have as much enthusiasm of that group.
Yeah, it kind of feels like a little bit like Renee Zellweger. I think Brutalist is a way better movie than Judy, like no contest. But it kind of feels like that. Like people probably never thought like she would win another Oscar.
Or what about like also like Hillary Swank, I thought of too.
Yeah, that's much closer though. That was only 5 years apart.
But you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Where it was just like, oh, obviously she's gonna win for $1 million. You know, it just felt like very like it was not a surprise maybe that she just was like won for $1 million baby after winning for Boys Don't Cry. I'm like, I think like the same like Renee Zellweger too, or just like I think that's not gonna be a big factor, and
No,
especially in this
they don't care about
category.
this. It's
Well, we
like,
saw with Frances McDormand too, right? Like
yeah, her third one. So
so then if
uh
it's win if he's win competitive, if it's like win competitive, I think, in director for sure. Whether I think it could win Best Picture, I definitely think Brady Corbet could win Best Director. It feels like very likely,
Yeah.
even.
And like who knows, maybe like he and Mona could also win screenplay. Like I have Anora winning that right now, but maybe it is like Oppenheimer, like it loses screenplay, you know?
And then all the craft stuff, I do think like score and cinematography and editing are all in
The
play,
edit,
and
yeah.
production design, like we said, and costume design. So now you're like racking up nominations here. Yeah, I definitely think it's win competitive for Best Picture.
Like three acting nominations, just like Oppie.
I guess the thing is, like, Oppenheimer felt like such an
Well, it
Oppenheimer
was a
has
huge
helped that it was
blockbuster.
a huge blockbuster and like a phenomenon. And no matter what, this is not going to be a phenomenon. But I think the one thing that would go into it is I think even people who are like a chip on their shoulder about like this freaking movie would be won over because it's actually good. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, I think if you go in, like, you're going in, like, when we saw it, the reviews were like, this is a masterpiece. So that's what your baseline expectations are, I guess. And then in watching, I was like, yeah, it kind of is. Like, this is really good. So I was like,
Yeah.
it totally sold. Like, it
Also,
was not
I'm
oversold.
curious to see like people's reactions to the ending because I loved the ending. The ending is such a gag.
The ending's a great gag, and it felt like
Yeah.
there will be blood kind of ending. I mean, like, it's so like cribbing off of like Coppola and PTA to me, like,
Yeah.
also. So I was like,
Which
this is
were
like,
like already in the reviews and stuff. But
right. So I'm like, this is like stuff where I think people are familiar with the beats of these movies and like those movies. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
like
Like,
the arc is not anything novel or new. I think it's just
no.
the way it's told. And then like all the pieces are just excellent. And also I want to say I feel like Adrian Brody's career, I think like how terrible some of his choices have been or his resume is greatly exaggerated. Like he like obviously has some bombs in there or movies like no one has ever heard of, but he also has some good shit in there, like Grand Budapest. We like he and Rafe would face off here,
Pretty
like
great.
um yeah, like French Dispatch, like Midnight in Paris, and I feel like film people also disrespect his TV work. He is an Emmy nominee for Succession and Houdini, which I know no one watched, but he was. He was great as Pat Riley on Winning Time, you know?
He's great on
And he
Winning
was
Time.
great
He
on
was so
Poker
good.
Face.
Yeah,
Remember Poker
he's
Face?
really good. I'm pro Adrian Brody too.
Yeah.
Um, I guess it'll be interesting to see. The thing I was like trying to figure out is if it's when it, like I don't think like I'd be surprised if it got a SAG Ensemble nomination, and I don't think it would win SAG Ensemble. So
No.
that's out to me. Uh, PGA, I
Although
think
I really enjoy like Joe Alwyn. Like he's when I was watching the movie, I was like, he should have been in Ripley as like Freddie Miles.
he would have been really good as Freddie Miles. Um, PGA, I think it will get in because of like the narrative around it and the story around it. And DGA, I think it'll get in.
And it was also made for under 10 million.
So I think it's like got enough of those where it's like, okay, it'll miss its SAG, but it'll still get in. And like it could be very much win competitive going into the Oscars. Plus, I mean, like it is possible that while like it could actually sweep, like truly, do you think it could like win Best Picture from New York, LA, and National Society of Film Critics?
It could, but I would say right now it probably won't. I think everyone kind of assumes like they don't want to match because New York goes first, and then it's kind of like LA doesn't want to match them. I think that's what everyone assumes.
Kind of like how the TIFF Audience Award's not going to come through
Yeah,
if it's not a TIFF
if you're not a
premiere.
WP.
Yeah, got to be a WP. All right. This is from old pal Mike. Joyce emailed us. It's
Wait,
slugfest.
what were the other questions? Were there other ones that we?
No,
No,
that
it
was
was
it.
just all the Brutalist.
It was
Okay,
a lot of
I already
brutal.
forgot about it.
Great email, though. Email us again. Slugfest@goldder.com. This one's from Mike, Joyce, our old friend, the Game Master. Again, no game. Hi, Joyce and Chris. It's me again, Mike. I wrote my email last week before the Emmys, so it was hilarious seeing how wrong about them the same three shows throughout. But I'm so happy to be wrong about it. Until now, I still can't believe Hacks won Best Comedy Series. It's so surreal. I screamed when Catherine O'Hara read the show as a winner. It's truly unbelievable. This is one of the rare circumstances where I'm really happy to be wrong about my prediction. The rightful winner won. Also, I'm not losing hope for Hannah Einbinder. We will avenge her no matter what. There are still at least two more seasons. I'm just excited for season 4, and I can't wait for next year's guest actress nominee, Carol Burnett, though she might be in competition against Jean Smart for SNL. I really have no true questions, though, but I could briefly ask if you've seen the pilot episode of High Potential or weigh in on the other fall shows that are premiering if the embargo has been lifted. I just wanted to share my excitement about Hacks. It's now a week since it won, and I still can't believe it. Also, I recently listened to the Big Picture's early Oscar predictions episode, and by the end, I concluded that you two are still the best when it comes to the Oscar prediction
Wow.
podcasting
Is this Brett's burner?
because you guys are more realistic and don't get too swayed by film Twitter conversations where everything is hyperbolic during the fall season and overreacting when someone is zagging. That's all. Thanks and have a great day. Can't wait for Dr. Odyssey. It looks unhinged in
Dr.
broadcast network
Pacey, as my friend and I
bandwidths.
call it.
I
So
call it Dr. Loveboat.
it's Dr. Pacey.
I'm not watching a network show in a million years. I can't wait for that. That looks
It's
great.
gonna be the best.
Hilarious. What a great premise. How's there never been a show like this before?
Must see TV is back.
We love hacks here, Joyce. So I'm always gonna.
Listen, I'm still thinking about Hacks.
So good.
Is this like the best moment of my life? Maybe
It
I
was
don't know.
really good.
And yes, I have seen High Potential. I've watched last night, Tuesday, the second episode. I watched that too.
Was it good?
So yeah, I mean, I told you I love like the trope of like a normie with a skill who helps law enforcement. I just love that trope. You can't go
Great.
wrong with that trope.
Great trope. Looks like a lot
So
of fun. The trailer looked like a lot of fun.
yeah, and like Caitlin's good. Like I think, in another universe, maybe like 20 years ago, she could have been like really competitive and at the Emmys, or it could be like, because they used to nominate a lot, obviously a lot more broadcast shows, but just like CSI used to do well at the Emmys. um this also reminded me of like this week broadcast. Matlock premiered finally. Twist. A lot of people enjoyed the twist. We won't spoil it for you if you don't know the twist.
Seemed like a lot of fun. My parents liked it.
Yeah. I've seen the first 6 episodes of that.
Brag
So,
much?
I mean, you could watch them too.
Nice.
I don't know. I don't
I
know what
watched.
else.
I watched the franchise, not broadcast.
Oh yeah, I haven't started that yet.
Loved it so far. 3 episodes. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it, but I'll just, since I liked it, I just will. It's great.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know when the embargo is on.
Uh,
I didn't read it.
just a fantastic. I think it's next week. I think October 1st, the embargo. So, but I'm not reviewing it. This is not for review. Just to say I liked the 3 episodes I saw.
Are you gonna? Do you have like buyer's remorse on your ridiculously early Emmy predictions now? Because you didn't have.
Yeah, I would put it in other places for sure. I think it's actually going to do really well.
I finished the English teacher screeners because they sent 7 and 8.
Nice. That show is okay. I've been watching it. I'll keep watching it.
Yeah, I don't know what else.
Nothing as exciting as Dr. Odyssey, though.
It's gonna be the best. So, I mean, like by the time this episode airs, we have already seen it.
True.
So,
this one's from Andre. Hi, Joyce and Chris. It's me, the person who fell asleep watching the Emmys. Because I thought, yeah, I know how this is going to go. And then I'm missing the biggest and most happiest thing to ever happen at an award show. Gotta say, the moment I wake up with the news of Hacks finally winning, I went, okay, so this is basically allowing all the other award shows to stop awarding the Bear. Me and Chris think the same, I guess. Is this a good thing? You decide. First things first. We need to look at the past winners for TIFF's People's Choice Award because I think you're kind of mistaken on some stuff. Since 2011, here are the stats. The TIFF premiere was Silver Linings Playbook. TIFF premiere 614, it says. Oh, so 6 of the 14? I don't understand what these numbers are. Oh, I see. Okay. Silver Linings Playbook, Green Book, and Jojo Rabbit. The Fablemans, American Fiction, Life of Chuck. Telluride premiere, 12 Years a Slave, Imitation Game, Room, Belfast. Venice premiere, La La Land, 3 Billboards, and Nomadland, and Cannes, Where Do We Go Now? So yeah, and it's 8 in other festivals and 6 versus TIFF premieres. I can see a trend happening more in recent years, though. Sorry for this long email, but it's been a while since I emailed you, so I deserve some time. If the obnoxious and smug David can get it, then so can I.
wow, shots fired.
I really love the playback series. It's really insightful and fun, but stop wanting old actors to go away. I just finished The Good Wife, funnier than The Bear, and I was living for Stockard Channing, Jane Alexander, and other living legends. Bring them back in movies. And now I'll finish with a question. I love Sing Sing and the way people talk, and for the way people talk about it, I thought Paul Raci was not in the movie that much, but he is a significant part of it, and a recognizable face. So if the movie hits with the emptiness of the category, wouldn't he be more of a contender since they love double dipping? I was really moved by him, and I think he does enough to get in. Have a nice week, and as always, thanks for the company, and make the episodes longer. I don't care.
What?
And Mike, I love the games, but stop with the fan casting. And this is not, and the runner-up is.
Wow.
A lot of shots in there. Andre just letting it all out. So what he was saying, I understand he had of the 14 TIFF movies to place since 2011, 6 were straight premieres, 8 were other places. So that was the numbers of 6 of the 14 or whatever.
Sure. But yeah, like he said, I think recently it's leaning more
It
like
is.
WP.
So, what do you think about all the other stuff, Joyce? Sing Sing, Paul Raci.
I don't know if because usually the double dipping happens if like the film is like top 3, and I don't know if right now Sing Sing is top 3.
Uh, there was a time I think when we double Sing Sing. I probably did have that in one of our early Oscar picks things. I just keep going back to my favorite actor in the movie is not Clarence Macklin nor Colma Domingo, but I think it's who is it? Is it Sean Johnson? Oh no, Sean San Jose as Mike. Absolutely loved him.
Well, if you were a voter, you could vote for him.
I would put him in over Paul Raci, I guess is what I'd say. Paul Raci was really good though. I agree. I think he's like really good in the movie. This is why I think it's a great ensemble nominee.
Yeah, I think I'll get into ensemble. So
And we love hacks, so let's go.
yeah,
Bring these people back in movies. I guess what I would say is like Stockard Channing and Jane Alexander. Yeah, bring them back in movies. Like they're
yeah, no, like
movies.
but
So
when we're talking about like people have to go away, it's more about like just in because now we have the internet, so everything is more in our face.
yes,
So it's just like that. Like, I mean, we don't like Stockard Channing and Jen Alexander have gone away. Like, we don't see news about them every day,
no.
but yes, please do movies and shows. It's like when you get used to seeing someone just like in headlines and like, on social media and stuff. It's like we see so much of Meryl Streep.
There's a lot of places.
Yeah. It's like you can't miss something unless they're gone.
No. This email's from Gabriel, our old pal. Hi, Joyce and hi, master poet Joyce and Chris. Now that we've seen the trailer, do you see Blitz as a contender for visual effects? Here's my breakdown of the category. We have 2 locks in Dune Part 2 and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, then Gladiator Part 2 as a solid 3rd place that could move up or down depending on the reception. Then the last 2 slots are wide open, and I'm currently predicting Twisters and Furiosa, with Mufasa just missing because of my theory that the novelty of the photorealistic animation will have worn off for voters. Blitz is a shot in the dark, and Wicked could easily make it. And if the reviews are strong, I don't see Deadpool and Wolverine scoring a nomination unless voters are apathetic to these other contenders and default to the MCU film that made over $1 billion. I'm not sure about Alien Romulus, even though I've seen it praised for its cinematography and visual effects. It probably needs a strong showing at the VES Awards. I still need to see Civil War as the #1 Alex Garland fan, but I'm not sure if voters will even remember it in January. What do you think? Did I overlook anything? I'm not sure when you're doing SAG TV picks, which would probably be later, but I still have 2 questions. Now that Hannah Einbinder has lost the Emmys, do you think she will miss at SAG? And 2, as I understand it, only Mr. and Mrs. Smith actors eligible for SAG Ensemble are Donald Glover and Maya Erskine. If that is indeed the case, do you think it is likelier to miss or still get nominated like The Last of Us? Thanks for reading. And this award this week for the most shocking revelation about TV goes to Joyce. It has to come back for season 2 before it comes back for season 3.
About Shogun.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I remember. Yeah.
Visual effects choice. We've seen Blitz.
Yes.
Wouldn't put it in.
There are visual effects in the movie. Yes.
That is a true statement.
Yes.
Not a focal point of the movie.
No, I guess the most of it is at the end, right? Yeah, I think like in the trailer they highlight that part.
I think the trailer oversells the action a little bit. So I don't know if
Yeah.
I'd have it in. That said, it's not as strong based on what Gabriel laid out here. I'm like, well, maybe it could get in.
Like the short list?
I think I can get on the short list. I guess like I do think Dune and Kingdom of Planet of the Apes are really strong. I don't think Deadpool would make it in. Civil War, I don't think would make it in. Alien Romulus, I think, has a really good shot because they were like talked a lot about it, and it does look pretty cool. Not my fave movie, but it does look good. Does the Substance get in? Can it make the
We
short
need
list?
something cool like Godzilla again.
And then for SAG, I don't know if Hannah Einbinder gets in.
I don't know if I think I had her in before the Emmys and I haven't touched it since, but that was something I thought about
I think I would
after she
take her out.
lost.
Yeah.
So but yeah, I haven't touched it yet. And then for Mr. and Mrs. Smith, yeah, like they're not against nominating two people ensembles like The Last of Us and Key and Peele. So
I just think that I don't know if I would have it in there, I guess. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know if I would predict it either, but I wouldn't be surprised if it got in.
We'll do our SAG picks at a later date, Joyce. Soon enough. Uh Harold and Maude is back.
Aiden.
Dear Joyce and Chris, I hope you're doing well. The Blitz trailer made me very excited and reaffirmed for me that this was just too baity to fail, even though I understand it still technically can. I still have Steve McQueen in for Best Director, and my question is here is why both of you seem fairly confident in Edward Berger's nomination. He didn't get in for All Quiet, and I just don't see there being a real narrative for him to be singled out, especially when there's more than five of those kind of visionary contenders in the category. On a side note, these category placements don't mean anything, but I do hope Josh O'Connor can make it into supporting actor at BAFTA, just to say he got at least a televised nomination for what should be our best actor winning performance. That's from Harold Ahmad. Can't deny that. Weigh in. Love Josh O'Connor. It's the best performance of the year, probably, other than Mikey Madison. So
Josh is like so booked and busy. Who even knows if he can attend any of these? I mean, he will if he gets nominated. They'll clear his schedule, but still. I feel like every week he's in another movie.
uh Edward Berger choice. I don't know. I mean, I think he'll get in, but what if people don't love Conclave?
Uh, I think it would be liked enough, but I
Okay.
do think there are people who will love it. And I mean, I told you last week, the guy behind me at my screening, he was seeing it for a second time. He loved it that much.
So Conclave reads as like the movie that like would have been the best picture winner like 12 years ago, right?
Yes.
But like is that really what it is, or like does that old guard of Academy vote, or will they actually like this movie? That's what I was wondering. I was like, what if it's actually not like we're just writing it in as that kind of movie for that kind of voter? But what if it's actually not like that? Like, because like you said, a lot of it maybe more like a lot of the younger people also seem to like it. Like, is that maybe that's good? But I was like, maybe we're just misreading it. I still think he would get in, but maybe not. I mean, if he did not get in, I guess I wouldn't
Yeah,
be
I wouldn't be surprised if he
shocked.
didn't get in. He could
Right.
definitely just be um just like the director of a like top five film who misses because there's nothing particularly like flashy about the direction and it's not really auteur which like Conclave is not. I think it's really well made. Um and I don't even think his snub with like All Quiet has and I don't think they care about that at all. They're not thinking about this at all.
No,
Um it'll just be about like the Conclave and uh yeah, I think it's like also dependent on the competition too and how well received other films are and how competitive their directors are. So I think I just kind of feel like Conclave is it feels like a movie that would probably get several nominations and not win any, like that.
yes,
So I think it could he could still get in like that, you know.
I agree. And Steve McQueen and picture and director. I mean, I still have Blitz in picture, so
Yeah, I saw Blitz in picture. I don't think I ever had Steven director, or maybe I did back in March. I don't remember.
I'm torn, but I went back to Denny, but I think like he could still get into, obviously. This one's from David L, who caught flack there. Emailed us at slugfest@goldderby.com. Hi, Joyce and Chris. It's an Oscars nerd who's glad there's no frontrunner and loves suspense, David L. Chris, glad to hear you really love The Brutalist and have woken up and realized that Brady Corbet is definitely likely the frontrunner to win director. Joyce, remember when you laughed in my face last month and said, "Remember Vox Lux?" I
Yes,
knew
I do
people
remember that. And The Brutalist is not like Vox Lux, so
I knew people would have doubts on this movie, but I figured based on the plot line, and I knew it would be Corbet's most accessible movie. And when I saw it over the weekend, even with the runtime, it felt shorter than Oppenheimer and Flower Moon. My favorite part was when the cast started singing Dinah Shore's Buttons and Bows. Since Joyce wants to read my letterbox review of Joker Folie Deux, I'm going to pause here. I don't think you actually want to read it. I think you were just saying that you wanted to read it. I
Yeah.
put it in a link down below. So, Chris, you can send it to Joyce. Joyce, I'll do that offline. But I'll just say it plays like a brilliant Shakespearean tragedy and not an unnecessary sequel. It may seem like that to some, but by the end of the movie, you'll understand why this film was made, and it provides a great conclusion to the character of Arthur Fleek. Joaquin takes his character to new heights, and Lady Gaga is definitely win competitive in supporting actress as she plays Harley Quinn, like a sick and twisted deranged sister. And the film is definitely win competitive in production design and maybe costume design for Ariane Phillips, who could get double nominations for this and a complete unknown. Chris, you're gonna love it, and I know Joyce is gonna hate it because of her disdain for the first one. But to me, to be fair, Joyce also loves some bad movies like A Knight's Tale and Music and Lyrics.
Why are they bad
Anyway,
movies?
my question this week is this. I recently saw Superman, the Christopher Reeve story, and there was not a dry eye in the theater. Do you think the documentary branch in the Academy will snub it because of their bias towards celebrity biodocs? Or do you think it can overcome that because it is about the actor in the film industry, an actor in the film industry who passed away? Thanks for always reading my emails. Can't wait for your episode next week. After you both see Joker, with a tagline will probably be Can Joker Strike Twice with Oscar Gold?
I also don't have disdain for the first movie. I don't know where that came from.
And I'm just
I don't
reading.
love the movie, but I don't hate
I
it.
thought it was good. I liked the first movie.
I don't think
Um,
about the movie at all.
uh, yeah, I don't know. I guess it's possible that it ends up coming back.
I
Hasn't
mean,
even come out
I
yet.
think it comes out next week.
Yeah, it's possible.
I feel like promo has taken a turn since the premiere
Yeah,
at Venice. And by there's a lack of promo
yeah.
now. Could just be like a crafts thing. I think it'd still make money, probably not as much as the first one.
I could still see like, look, I don't know, like I think the Joaquin stuff because it was always going to be to me it was always going to be a hard sell for him to get in again because it's the repeat of what he already won for. Not to say that he couldn't, but I was like always dicey on that. And then the fact that the Todd Haynes thing is still like hanging out there feels like not great vibes. So I don't know if I'd have him in. I Lady Gaga could easily get in. That category is wide open. We've talked about this. So like I don't know. Like if she got in, I wouldn't be surprised. She could be like the Danielle Brooks of this year.
But I don't think she'd be a lone nominee.
No, but I'm saying like she could be like the acting contender that we all wrote off because the movie got like a less than euphoric response and then still gets in, basically. I don't know.
Um, yeah, I think like above the line would probably be more difficult this time around for it. Uh, but yeah, like I wouldn't be shocked by a comeback, but like you were saying in the other episode yesterday's, like Warner Brothers slate and its direction has clarified, and they're certainly acting like it's clarified.
Correct. This one's from Brad. Email it at slugfest@goldberry.com. Hi, Joyce and Chris.
Wait, Superman.
Oh, Superman choice. I mean, I've heard people love it. Not a dry in the house.
Yeah, but it could still scream snub to me. I can still see it missing. So
Same. I I think the pros for it is that while it's going to be a Warner Brothers release, it was made outside of Warner Brothers, so it's not like a
mhm.
hagiography. I think they like kind of took pains to make it like more, I don't know, journalistic is the right word, but it's not like a DVD extra for like Superman Blu-rays. It's like a real heartfelt movie about Christopher Reeve. I could see it getting in, but we've seen them have a real reticence to do those kind of movies. Michael J. Fox, John Baptiste.
Yeah.
So
So I think it's like it screams like PGA winner and like Oscar snubby.
now that said, this year there's like a lot of documentaries, but there are like a lot of those kind of documentaries this year, I feel like, because you have like Will and Harper is out this week, where I'm like, that's kind of similar, but I could see that maybe getting in too, even though it's like a celeb doc. Because
Yeah.
like, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Those all feel like PGA nominees, but this one's from Brad. Happy fall, Joyce and Chris. Some random thoughts. The Sinners trailer looked incredible. Can't wait for its release in March. Too early for Best Director 2026 talk for Ryan Coogler. Mikey 17 or Mickey 17 looks hilarious. I love this mode for Robert Pattinson and Bong Joon-ho. Gladiator 2 trailer. I feel so confident in Denzel nomination. I'd love for him to get a third Oscar. Life of Chuck, which I of course have not seen, seems like a 2025 streaming release that should be eligible for the Emmys and TV movie categories. Lastly, Chris, you made no mention of Colin from Accounts in your ridiculously early Emmy predictions. What gives? Remember you knew you were weighing in on it for 2 weeks in June? LOL. Keep up the good work. That's from Brad. And one more thing. Hey, Joyce, what do you think about this Friends anniversary trivia show? And are you going to audition for it?
I am not gonna audition for that. No. Maybe one day I'll tell you what happened to me when my coworkers took me out for Friends trivia like 10 years ago.
Okay. Good
This
radio.
episode's already too long, so.
Good radio tease. I love the Sinners trailer. I was way in on that. That it looked great.
Fun trailer, yeah.
And I was like, Warner Brothers next year has, so they have Mickey 17 in January, which looks like Bong Joon-ho doing Edge of Tomorrow.
That was a great trailer. That's like old school Bong. Like if people don't know Bong, like pre-Parasite.
Looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that looks like it's
great Arpats accent.
Ridiculous Arpats. It looks like a lot of fun. So they've got that movie, they've got Sinners, and they've got the new PTA movie. I was like, man, they got a lot of like all the auteurs next year at Warner Brothers. They're just like kind of keep raining haymakers. I don't know. I love the way Sinners looked. I was like, this looks good. I don't know if it'll get in for anything, but it'll maybe Ryan Coogler, leader in the clubhouse for the Gotham Awards 2025, a director tribute that Denis Villeneuve is getting this year.
Like bring it back.
Yeah.
To what is that group that does like half year awards?
Critics' Choice Award?
No, it's the other one. Like he'll get nominated there. You know what I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the Gladiator trailer, great. People were upset about the quote spoiler about Lucius's parentage, but I don't like. We knew that was the case. I don't know. It's like people.
It's funny. Like I rewatched Gladiator, and that's not in the first Gladiator. It's like if anything, you feel like the boy is Joaquin Phoenix's son, like that. It's like a awful incest relationship kind of with his sister. So I was like, it's not really in there. Obviously, like Maximus and Lucilla or whatever had like a relationship that they talk about. But like clearly to me, it always felt obvious that they were definitely going to just make this like retcon it to make Lucius like Maximus's son. Otherwise, like why even make the movie? Basically, right? Like it just felt like if you're going to Top Gun Maverick Gladiator, you got to like make him the son of like the main character or one of the main characters, and there's no other main character besides Russell Crowe, unless you're going to make it Joaquin Phoenix's son, which makes no sense. So I don't know. It didn't seem like a spoiler to me.
No. And I'm glad they finally just like went out and confirmed it and did it. So like everyone can talk openly about it. So
love Denzel look. Denzel looks like having a blast. I don't know. I think he is win competitive for sure for this. So I could just see him like definitely winning. But we'll see. This one is from Cassie. Hi, Joyce and Chris. In light of the Thunderbolts trailer, which does not
But you have to explain your Colin from Accounts. Why didn't you have it in anywhere?
Oh, because I forgot about it.
Such a fair weather predictor. 2 weeks, Colin from Accounts.
This one's for Cassie. Hi, Joyce and Chris. In light of the Thunderbolts trailer, which does not tell you anything about the actual plot, and the movie's title's annoying asterisk, here's the weird question for you. What is the most annoying punctuation in a film or TV title? That's from Cassie.
Oh my God. So many. So definitely shit my dad says.
Okay.
And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The periods in S.H.I.E.L.D.
Great.
My old editor, like he just made an executive decision one day and because we were like so tired of typing out the periods in S.H.I.E.L.D. So he was like, okay, you don't have to type the periods. So we just wrote like S.H.I.E.L.D. all caps. So those are mine.
Mine is Tar. Remember how stupid it was
all
when we were
caps
getting
and the accent on the A.
And we would get emails from the reps and be like, actually,
focus.
it's Tar.
It's like actually,
and I'm like, yeah, no, not Todd Field, no disrespect, but like, no, honestly, like, I'm sorry. I'm not doing your fake, I'm not participating in this. Exclude me from this narrative, please. I hated that one. I thought that was so
yeah, like accents I don't mind because like accents are real. but it's like the all caps too.
Yeah, that was a tough beat.
Yeah.
Uh, this one is from our old pal, Judgmental TV fan, Joyce.
Oh, they're back.
Yeah, I feel like they're
What?
going to keep coming back.
That's great.
Now that we have a mailbag episode,
Mhm.
why wouldn't they?
Do you think there's a judgmental movie fan out there?
What if it's just Judgmental TV fan who writes
It
about
should
movies?
be just
It
judgmental
should.
movie.
Judgmental TV fan, as you're watching this, write about movies too. We'd love to hear
Yeah.
your judgy thoughts. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I might be alone in this, but I feel like Agatha All Along is too late. If the show had debuted a year or even two after WandaVision, I would have been much more excited for it. As it stands, I can't muster up the energy to go down this path. The Mayor of Easttown homage should have been fun, but it mostly felt stale. This got me thinking about Marvel as a TV product overall because Kevin Feige and co plan everything out so far in advance. It doesn't seem like it actually allows for much room to deviate when, say, they have a breakout character or they want to capitalize on or follow in a spinoff. What are your thoughts?
I agree, sadly, with all of that. And I also haven't watched Agatha at all. And I agree. I think I would have jumped at it like 2 years ago. Um, but yeah, like when they sent the screeners, I was like, I don't know if I watch this. And then you texted me about it because you're like, did you watch it yet? Like they're doing a Mayor thing. I'm like, do I want to? Like, I love Mayor of Easttown. I'm like, do I want to watch it? Like, I still haven't watched it. So
It's good. I thought that I watched the first two. I thought they were good. I agree that it's a little feels like very late. The
yeah.
Mayor thing felt stale because Mayor is also 1,000 years old. Nobody remembers
Well,
it.
Mayor is younger than WandaVision. It came out the same year. It was 3 months later. I just thought it's funny that they did that since Catherine Hahn lost the Emmy to Julianne Nicholson. And then I'm also like, if we're gonna do a Mayor homage, you need to bring Zabes back. Like you already have Evan Peters' number. You need to bring Ralph Boner back for
Yeah,
this.
it just felt like a little that was like a little flat just to do a Mayor. I don't know. I think the show is pretty good though. The two I've seen I liked. Also in hindsight, again, watching the franchise, I was like, man, just the way it takes down the Marvel of it all is like kind of very biting and cynical in a way that I really liked.
Yeah, I also agree. Like I think the way that like Marvel is structured and how they plan things out years in advance, it doesn't leave a lot of breathing room for, like breakout characters like Agatha and then like to develop an idea, like a spin-off and how it fits into the fabric of the larger quilt you're building for the MCU. And yeah, I don't know. I think like the initial slate of shows that they premiered in 2021 were good. And then now it's like there's so many of them now. And then we don't even know, like some of them are just like, are they over or are they not? Like who knows?
Moon Knight,
Remember Moon Knight?
barely.
So remember Secret Invasion?
Never finished that one.
So yeah, I think it I don't know what they can do about it, but now this is finally maybe I'll catch up one day.
Okay, we have three left. We could speed round these, I
Great.
think. This one is from not John McEnroe's publicist.
Great.
I saw John McEnroe cameo on Only Murders in the Building, and it reminded me of how great he was as a narrator on Never Have I Ever. How do we get him as a guest star on every TV show?
That's what we should be doing. He should have won an Emmy for Never Have I Ever. Great
Very
performance. Like
underrated.
I love he's just like on all my favorite shows. Like he was fantastic on 30 Rock. And yeah, his cameo in Only Murders this week was amazing. I was so excited when I watched the screeners last month and I was like, this is my like of all the guest stars and cameos this season, I was like, this is my favorite one, obviously.
Really good. This one's from Sophie. Hi, Joyce and Chris. It looks like we're in for another round of everyone suddenly, quote, realizing Sebastian Stan is a good actor. What is it about him that makes people act this way? Is it just that he has so many associate him with Marvel now that they somehow forgot everything else he has done over the last 20 years that has shown his range? And why do people find it surprising that he continues to cash the Marvel paycheck while doing all these other interesting projects? To me, that just seems smart. From Sophie.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah, my friend and I had this conversation, I guess 2 years ago now, with Fresh. Remember Fresh?
Mm-hmm.
Landed on Hulu, but he got great reviews for that out of Sundance. And it was the same conversation. It was like, wow, he's a great actor. I'm like, he's always been a great actor. I think it's the Marvel thing. I think it's the Gossip Girl thing. I think if people even watch Once Upon a Time, it's the Once Upon a Time thing. But no, he's always been great. He was great on Political Animals. He was great on Kings, a short-lived show on NBC.
I watched that one. That one I know.
That was great.
I
That deserved better.
is he do you think people like this is gonna sound dumb, but do you think people like judge him because he's so handsome that he can't actually be a good actor?
I think it's that, and I think it's he's hot, and it's his past resume, because a
Right.
lot of his past resume is like fluff in
So he's
quotes.
like handsome doing fluff and Marvel. So it's like when he's like he's legitimately fantastic as
Yeah, it
Trump.
was the same thing with like I, Tonya, right? It's like
Yeah.
we go through this every couple of years.
He's so like, let me ask you this, not to double back on SAG. We have one left here and we've gone way too long probably. But uh is it possible that that movie could get like a SAG bounce? Like does Sebastian Stan have a chance of getting in for best actor at SAG?
For which one? A
For
different
for
man
no,
or
for Apprentice. I don't think for A Different Man. While I know he's great in A Different Man, I feel like the Trump one is the one that will get like the real like kind of headlines.
uh yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to do with The Apprentice yet.
Because man, he's so good in it.
He is.
He's like fantastic good. He's like really, really good. And I guess like I don't think we should write that off or the movie off just yet. And I think he, especially in a best actor race where we said, feels pretty wide open.
I actually feel like he could like get in and maybe even win the Comedy Globe for A Different Man. Like maybe he won't get in for The Apprentice. Yeah, I don't know what to do with him because he has two movies, and obviously a Different Man. He's already won awards for it. He won Berlin for it, and it's definitely going to be the better received movie. Like,
But it's also another one where it's like another A24 movie that has now been like
yeah,
pushed
and
way down
it's
the
out.
list.
It's out.
It's
Yeah.
out now. It's
Yeah.
way down the list, I feel like.
Um, and yeah, but obviously there's uh like with the Apprentice, like some people might not even watch it. There's a lot more baggage with that movie than
I
there is with A Different Man.
I also wonder how, depending on how the election goes, does this movie get like I think
Yeah,
if
that's a big part of it too.
if the election goes one way, I think no one would want to watch this movie and want to shoot it into space and burn the negative. If the election goes a different way, I think they'll be like, actually, I do
Yeah.
want to watch this movie. And like, I think like then it would be like kind of
It's
feel
like Schadenfreude.
cathartic, right? Schadenfreude and cathartic to watch it. And then maybe that actually helps them even further. So I think there's a lot left in that movie. Just,
That's why I don't know what to do with it yet.
but like just down, like just forgetting every outside thing, he is fantastic in it. I think he's so good in it. So
Yeah,
like,
we talked about this last week with the trailer, which is heavy on the first half of the movie before
yeah,
his transformation.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, but he's always been great, and he will always be great. So
Last one here, Joyce, on our inaugural mailbag episode, which we'll do now every week. So get those emails in at slugfest@goldriver.com, because otherwise we don't have a second show, which I think you would be disappointed by. Yes, you. I'm talking to you out there. This one's from Billy. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I love the show. Wanted to ask a sports question. What do you think the Mets playoff chances actually are? Now, Joyce, we're recording this on
we're
Wednesday,
going on Wednesday. Last night, Tuesday, we
September
lost to the
25th.
Braves.
So Mets lost to the Braves. Not
We
great.
play again tonight, Wednesday. It might be rained out.
So there's a massive hurricane coming into Atlanta,
Yeah,
and it's about 8 inches of rain between today and
this
Friday.
will be 2 days old by the time this goes live. So
So Atlanta maybe is flooded. Might not even be on the map anymore, but let's assuming it is, hopefully. They for some reason did not make any contingency plans for the series. They didn't do a double header, they didn't move it to Miami, they didn't do a second site. They're just like, fuck it, we're gonna go. I think the Mets playoff chances are very strong because I think they're not just they're in a good position with the Atlanta series, where if they
yeah,
don't get swept, they'll still end up tied with Atlanta, and Arizona is like scuffling. So
yeah,
I feel
we're
like
currently right now as we're recording this, we are half a game ahead of Arizona,
yes,
and the Braves are half a game behind Arizona.
and two of those three teams will make it in,
Yes.
and so I feel pretty confident the Mets will be one of those two teams. Excuse me. They also play the Brewers this weekend to close out the season. The Brewers are mailing it in. They already clinched, so that series is
Yeah.
done. The Mets could easily win all three of those games. Like
we did our work with the Phillies this past weekend,
won
so
3 out of 4. So I
yeah.
think the Mets will make it in. And I've been saying this, I think since we did this, I think we've talked about this when other people emailed. I think the Mets, if they make it in, they could go right to the World Series. And if they don't make it in, I also would not be surprised. But they have the vibes and the team of what we've seen recently in baseball, the kind of team that goes to the World Series based on like the Diamondbacks and the Rangers and all these other teams that like this is like the
Yeah.
kind of team that goes far. So yeah, I think this will post on Friday as the Mets are probably now dead. But I do think they'll have a
You
strong,
just jinxed them right
I think
now.
they have a strong chance of making it in this year. We'll see though how it goes.
Yeah, we need Lindor back.
Lindor
So
would help. I
yeah.
hated that. I love that like Luis Angel Acuna was like doing so well, but I was also like, don't do this now because then when you go 0 for 20 when we need you, like at the end of the next week, because like like
Yeah.
rookies, they're gonna hit hot, then they go immediately like an over 25. And I'm like, well, okay, so we got his 0 for 20 coming. I'm still waiting for Pete Alonso to realize the season started, Joyce. I don't know when that's gonna happen, but hopefully soon. His season will start when Empire of Light comes out.
And that's coming out when Shogun season 2 comes out, right?
Yeah, all of these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Pete's great contract year, Empire of Light, and The Sun and Shogun all together will come out at some point.
Yeah.
Still waiting.
It'll be great. So, and if the Mets do make it, I need Dylan O'Brien's thoughts because he's a huge Mets
Mm-hmm.
stan. And last week I was so happy because Seth Meyers, my fave, when Dylan was on last week, Seth brought up the Mets, and I wish the whole interview had been about the Mets, but he just talked about like how he threw out the first pitch in 2017. But would love to just talk to Dylan O'Brien about the Mets.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
So email us at slugfest@golder.com. And just this was great. Our first mailbag. First of many? Question mark.
many.
All right. We'll talk to you next week.